Welcome to COP27 IDFC Pavilion Biodiversity and Gender Side event sponsored by Banco Argentino de Desarrollo, BICE. And my name is Ayşe Nazlıca. I am the Sustainability Coordinator of TSKB, Industrial Development Bank of Turkey. As TSKB, we are the only privately owned development bank in Turkey, established in 1950, and operate within the mission of supporting the sustainable development of Turkish industrial sectors. We have long-lasting relations with development finance institutions globally, and we give great importance to collaboration with our stakeholders all around the world. As a leading member of IDFC, we also carry out the coordination of gender-related studies with our partner BICE within IDFC Gender Working Group. On topic of today's panel, the biodiversity is in crisis. Every year, we witness the loss of species and ecosystems due to changes in land use, habitat degradation, overexploitation of resources, pollution, and of course, the climate change. It is essential to monitor, to participate and promote its maintenance and conservation, but it is also critical to use a gender perspective. Even though biodiversity loss and degraded ecosystems consequences affects women and men both, it has greater impact on those sectors of the population that are more vulnerable and less able to respond to risks. Women have a vital role in biodiversity conservation and sustainable use, as they are often the ones who face greater risks and greater workloads. As public development banks, it is important to act considering this diversity as well as to contemplate women's particular circumstances in the decision-making process of products and its implementation. Well, today we have very valuable participants, the panelists. The first one from Development Bank of South Africa, dbsa, Safira Patel. Safira Patel is an innovative ESG strategist with 20 years of experience in the environmental, development finance, and sustainability space. She is the head of environment and social governance at the dbsa and leads the development of the dbsa's just transition approach and strategy. Safira chairs the Development Results Working Group at the dbsa and is a committee member of the Sustainable Landscape Finance Coalition. Having managed multidisciplinary teams, Safira's roles include advising on sustainable development, the just transition, natural capital, climate change mitigation and adaptation, due diligence and impact and sustainability reporting. In this moment, I want to ask Safira to tell us about her experience in the just transition strategy at dbsa. What did you do so far, and what are your plans for the future, Safira?
Thank you so much for that introduction and for inviting us to join this panel. Maybe for some context, for those who aren't aware about the dbsa, the dbsa is an infrastructure development bank, so our mandate is to facilitate the development and to work with our clients to develop sustainable infrastructure in order to facilitate a just transition and also sustainable economic development and growth within our region. At dbsa, with respect to the integrated just transition, what we've started with is what we call our integrated sustainable development finance approach. So the approach aims to bring together the various parties within the organization who are all working towards this low carbon, resilient and just transition, to ensure that the work we do aligns and projects can build off each other, and we can use and leverage each other's knowledge within the organization. So our just transition approach, which is underpinned by integrated sustainable development approach, takes its mandate from the bank's mandate of infrastructure development is aligned to international best practice. So we've got the SDGs, South African Development Plan, Agenda 30. We're ensuring that all of that is fully integrated and supported in our just transition process and plan. Additionally, we've also ensured that we are in alignment with our partners and stakeholders. Going ahead on the just transition without fully taking into consideration your context, the context of your partners and your clients, would mean that we have a very one-sided approach to just transition. So for us, it's critically important to bring our internal partners and stakeholders, as well as our external stakeholders and partners, along on the journey. To date, we have our fossil fuel funding statement, which we launched last year at COP26. Additionally, what we've started doing is working on the development of our just transition plan and setting of targets through the development of a TOR, and we've worked with IDFC quite closely to ensure that we can use this information and share it with our other partner DFIs, but also so that we can have additional support in the development of our just transition plan. So that would be the first element. We do have a climate change policy as well as a just energy plan, transition plan. However, those policies and the plan are somewhat old. We all know with the just transition, everything is moving very quickly. And whatever plan you might have had last year may not be particularly applicable to this current situation. And that's, I think, indicative of climate change and this just transition that we're doing. I mean, there's lots of moving parts, there's lots of complexities, lots of contexts that need to be incorporated into it. So we're currently revising our energy transition plan and our climate change policy as a support element of our broader just transition strategy and target setting. So that's the work we've done to date. We've got a long way to go. We need to work with our partners and stakeholders to ensure that the targets that we do set are aligned to country NDCs as well as international requirements, as well as the DBSA's context. I think it's particularly important to note that you cannot go ahead and put together a just transition plan and cookie cutter one from another one that you might have, another DFI might have, or even another client might have. It's critically important that we bring all the contexts together and we have a plan that is inclusive, but also flexible enough to consider the changes that are coming our way. I think within the just transition context, what we have today might not be applicable even in 6 months' time, because the data requirements are getting better. We've got more data coming in to support the direction we need to go in. So making a decision today, the impacts might change quite quickly. I think a key element for us in our just transition plan is biodiversity, as well as gender and natural capital. So we have to move beyond the mitigation and into the adaptation space, and that's a key element that we started to integrate. So we're in the process of putting together our biodiversity policy, which again would feed into our just transition plan. We're also revising our environmental and social management system. Again, that is critical to support the just transition work that we need to do. We need to ensure that the way we do appraisals on our project, the way we do our due diligence, the way we monitor and report has to be context specific and ensure that we meet the reporting, but not just reporting, the data requirements for supporting decision making. So those are the key areas we're working on. With respect to gender and biodiversity specifically, we do have a gender safeguard. We've got that in place. And we do have a biodiversity safeguard in place. However, we need to take those further. We do know that within the climate change risk area, we're going to come across greater hazards, greater shocks, more extreme climatic conditions. And what we know is that biodiversity often suffers when you have those conditions. We have social cohesion elements that need to be considered. When there's low social cohesion within a country or a region, we know that women suffer the most, as well as our biodiversity. And considering that women play such a key role in the natural capital space, it's important to ensure that both women and biodiversity are effectively integrated and highlighted in our just transition policy, but also in our systems that we use to support our move towards a just transition. So critically important is to get the gender and biodiversity elements into our projects from the project preparation stage and the design stage. We cannot use it as an add-on, which in many cases it has been until recently. So flexibility and integration from the beginning is what we need.
Thank you so much. After the first round, I will be continuing with some questions. I'm so glad that you are aware of the flexibility of your transition plan. It's a continuous process, and I think it will also motivate all the employees and other stakeholders, especially the young generation, with the new developments. Our second guest is Mr. Fabio Maeda from Banco de Amazonia, Brazil. Fabio Maeda is Chief Risk Officer, Chief Financial Officer, and Director of Investor Relations of Banco de Amazonia. Prior to joining Banco de Amazonia, Mr. Maeda has accumulated experience over the years in asset management, investment advisory, and risk management, and is currently responsible for overseeing Banco de Amazonia's corporate risks and financial planning and financial statements. Fabio, can you elaborate on your experience regarding environmental and social risk and opportunities of your bank's related businesses and future plans?
Hello, good morning everyone. Initially, sorry for the technical difficulties I had. All set now. I want to take time presentation share it with you. Screen sharing is disabled. Can you guys share with me? Thank you. Can you confirm you can see the presentation?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. So first of all, I think it's important for us to understand the role of Banco da Amazonia here in Brazil and in the Amazon biome, because to understand the actions we have towards the environmental sustainability, we have a lot of actions that we're going to show here to you. We have first some of the role of the Amazonia. So let me show you. Sorry. So Banco da Amazonia is a state-owned company. It's a public development company here in Brazil, and the range that it goes towards here in Brazil is like it covers all of the North region. So we have 118 branches that covers all the 9 states on the Amazon biome, including 7 states that covers 100% of the North region. So, as being a sustainable, as being a public development bank, we have the mission of developing sustainable Amazon, and this is established in our mission. We have a development sustainable Amazon credit and effective solutions. This is, I'm sorry, I'm hearing myself.
Fabio,
Yeah, I'm having some because I'm hearing myself.
okay.
Can you escape it so that
We can hear you. Fabio, we can hear you very clearly. No worries.
I'm not hearing you guys quite clear, so if we can answer you guys, could you skip from me, or just hear in my silence?
We can hear you. You may continue. You may continue with your presentation, Fabio.
I'm not hearing you guys again.
Okay, I think we will moving on with our next guest. And we will come back to Fabio again. We have Fabiana Mena, who is the president of Fundación Gran Chaco, Argentina. Fabiana is an anthropologist, specialist in gender and public policies with 22 years of experience in local development in rural areas and indigenous communities. In particular, she has been dedicated to strengthening organizational processes with network approaches, training leaders for productive development and income generation based on the valorization of territories and their biodiversity, with special emphasis on the development of rural women and strategies for adaptation and mitigation to climate change. Currently, manager of the NANUM Connected Women project to strengthen the capacity for adaptation and resilience to climate change of 5,000 rural women from Bolivia, Paraguay, and Argentina through digital innovation. Fabiana, please tell us about the nexus on gender and public policies in local development.
Hello, good morning for here. It's very early in the morning in Argentina, where I'm located right now. I hope, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Well, we have been working, and as you said, in this region, in designing and building a platform of different stakeholders called the Rede Chaco, which represent for us the basis, the necessary tool to build real integrating and inclusive public policies. We are in a region that includes, as you said, 4 countries, 1 million or 12 kilometers, and with a very different cultural diversity, not only biodiversity. We have more of 40 different indigenous people, and at the same time a very incredible biodiversity and opportunity for answering to different kind of problems that we have at the level of climate change events and climate disaster, but also about the challenges of facing poverty and other kinds of problems. In this context, we believe, and in our experience, we have learned that including and incorporating the gender mainstreaming or gender lenses in the building of this challenging public policy, it has been a very interesting. In my opinion, it's like to know all the time and to integrate diversity lenses, because gender perspective means to incorporate not only a disaggregated data about the binary division of men and women, but we are also integrating an intersectional perspective. That means that we are including also other variables like age, ethnicity, geographical location that represent or create all the time different kind of barriers or are the causes of discrimination in different ways. So the first aspect that I think it's important to highlight is that gender perspective is not only about men and women, but we are looking at this different different kind of stakeholders that are in this way integrated in the building of public policies, not only about state and civil society or private sector, but also in each one of these stakeholders we are disaggregating and trying that women organization or women represented can participate in the different spaces of decision making or training session because in rural area women are mostly they face all the time different kind of barriers to participate in this space. So when we in Ready Chapel, which is our platform, we could carry on in these last 10 years a very wide stakeholder mapping with these lenses, and the result is that I think we won in efficiency and in effectiveness because we have a very richness in diversity, and not only regarding and highlighting or making visible the different perception problems or critical situation, but also, and I think here is the key point of the gender perspective in public policy, we could achieve and we could access to a very wide solution or contribution from this platform. No? With gender lenses, we could achieve and integrate in our policies, in our action, in our programs, different solution, knowledge, and so I think we could accelerate our action and the impact that we are achieving.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your valuable experience. And I would like to continue the second round with some questions regarding the challenges and lessons learned. Safira, could you elaborate on some challenges experienced in integrating gender into biodiversity projects in your organization?
Thank you for that. What we have experienced with respect to gender and biodiversity is that we often get projects that come into our pipeline at a much later stage where we are unable to change the design or influence the design or ensure that gender and biodiversity are fully integrated into the project. Often the plans have been done and it's a question of can we fund it, and let's do a social environment due diligence from a risk perspective. What we need is we need to be able to influence the project design, the programmatic approach, and that one needs to start right at the beginning of the project. So if we're able to integrate gender issues, biodiversity, natural capital upfront when the project is being designed, it would be a great deal easier to ensure that we have much deeper impact, and through our due diligence process we not only look at it from a risk perspective, i.e. mitigating or managing risk, but we're able to then start moving towards an approach that looks at the net positive. So what positive elements do gender and biodiversity integration bring to the project, and how can we either elevate those, replicate those positive impacts, and make the projects more sustainable in the long run. Because we do know that women play a critical role in how communities are farming. Women are responsible for up to like 80% of the world's food production. So food production, gender, and the ability to manage and create environments and landscapes that provide a net positive impact are particularly important. So for us, the one thing is starting at the beginning, in the programmatic planning, pre-project phase, to ensure that the project is designed with gender and mainstreaming upfront and is then integrated into the process. I think our second issue is data. Data can be very difficult to find. Data sets can be difficult to read or understand if you don't understand that space very well. And we need data to know where we're going and how to develop and design those projects. So data availability and credibility is critically important. And then lastly, what we do find is there's been a great deal of focus on mitigation projects. What that means generally, because they tend to have a renewable energy link. So within the sector, within the space, we have all been funding a great deal of renewable energy projects. So the model for funding renewable energy, the financial model, is there. It's usable, it's been tried, it's been tested, and it's easier for the investment teams to work with those models. We don't have a really well-developed model for natural capital finance, for adaptation finance, for how to finance gender and incorporate it into a project. So 3 areas. We need to ensure that we start at the beginning. We need to ensure that we have the right data sets and we monitor and manage for the right data sets. And lastly, we need to make sure that we support the development of financial mechanisms and funding mechanisms that speak to adaptation projects. Because you cannot make the jump until you have something well developed that people who previously weren't exposed to adaptation finance or gender or biodiversity finance are able to better understand. Not everybody is an ecologist or environmental scientist, so you need to make sure that we work on the development of those models and those tools and those mechanisms.
Thank you so much. I think the data problem is very common all around the world. And we believe that this problem will be solved with the capacity building, greater awareness, and high technology in the very near future. Well, I go back to my panelists online, and I will try to reconnect with Fabio, because his session was interrupted. Okay, great. Actually, after hearing your experiences, I would like to also ask you to answer my question. What is the main challenge in managing socio-environmental responsibility in biodiversity projects in the Amazon biome? Thank you.
Perfect. Sorry again, I was starting to hear myself and I stopped hearing and I couldn't be able to continue. But if I may, I'll go back to our presentation because I think, once again, I think it's important to understand the role of our activities here in Brazil, here in the Amazon biome, so we can understand what the cases we do here and how we are managing these environmental risks and opportunities as your question. So just a second. Okay, here we go. As I was saying, Banco do Amazonia is maybe the most important institution here in financing. Obviously, I'm not talking in general, but in financing, we have very strong numbers that represent what we are in helping manage the sustainability here in the North region, the Amazon biome. We have 80 years of experience here in development of the Amazon. We have a mission to develop sustainable Amazon. We are the main development bank here in the Amazon, modern. This is our vision, we're modern, engaged employees and solid results. I want to say here, this is our main funding. It's called the FNO, and why it's important for me to explain to you guys what is the FNO. Because in the constitution here in Brazil, this is established that a percentage of the income tax and the industrialized products income tax is separated to this content specifically. So we have as FNO the principal funding. So it's a funding that guarantees us to invest in projects here all over the North region, and we have 66% of development credit in the North region. And when we say development credit, I'm saying investments in machines, investment in trucks, investment in silos, in investments in general forms. So almost all of these investments are sustainability, have a sustainability concern on this, and on how we treat this, because here we see the risk becoming an opportunity for us. Here in the social environmental analysis, we identified a problem, because we, as having the principal funding here in Brazil, in the laws and bio to invest, we have also the responsibility to give these financings in a social environmental responsible way. So what we did is identify this risk, and how we treat it is by making a social environmental analysis. So almost all of our investments, almost all of our fundings, all of our credits we give to our clients, they must have a social environmental analysis. So we don't have financing on contracts that are on native lands. We don't have contracts that don't attend all of the social environmental requisites. This is how we found an opportunity to give social environmental analysis, it has become a revenue for us, important revenue, so that we took this opportunity over a risk we have in the social environmental concern of Amazonia. Talking about our theme panel here about gender and biodiversity, I want to talk also about how we treat this institutionally. So Amazonia has a concern on the gender theme, gender equality theme. We have a program that has been recently established. It's called O Despertar. In its translation, it's awakening. It's important here to say that the first time in the history of Amazonia we have a chairwoman. So when the chairwoman of the board came on here, she identified the necessity to give Banco da Amazonia this kind of focus. So we established the program, the Despertar, the objective here to transform the bank to a socially inclusive company in these 5 years. So we're getting this top down on all of our organization to value diversity, to respect the differences, to motivate and engage employees. So we have a mission here in this program to come over the gender equality, and not only this, but also in social perspective, and in the gender perspective specifically. I have here the numbers here inside Banco da Amazonia. We think these numbers are okay. They're not the worst, but they're okay. But we have to give them certainly much more. It is a mission to the chairman of the board that all women here feel empowered and feel the opportunity to ascend in the organization, to have management position as their goals. So we have this program here in Banco da Amazonia as we work institutionally. On credit, here we have some of the examples of how Banco da Amazonia works with this institutionally, with the social environmental concern. We have renewable energy lines. So all of these, we have specific products that we have to our clients to enhance the social environmental responsibility. So we have special program financing for renewable energy. We have special program for microcredit. We have special rates, special conditions to our clients who have sustainable management of their natural resources. So it's our concern. It's a product. There are a lot of products here that specifically have this focus and this concern and special conditions, as said. Here again, the social environmental aspect and the social environmental analysis. We have 6.8 billion of reais, of almost 12 billion that we are making this year. So a lot of, almost all, a great part of our contracts and a great part of our active portfolio is managed by social environmental analysis. That, as I was saying, it goes with our concern on social environmental responsibility. Here in the credit for women, we have this special program. This is where we treat the gender equality concern, and where we think that the main pillar of gender inequality may be the economic perspective. So we think we have to empower women, we have to enable them to have access to credit, to access to financial services. And this is a program that we started this recent year, in February and March of 2022. We started the program Amazon para Elas, which is Amazon for them. And this program is focused exactly on giving special conditions, facilities, special rates for women to have access to credit. So it's, like I said, it's a very recent program, but as of now we've already attended 31,000 women with this line of credit. So we think this on the upcoming years will be a very special product. This will be a product that will be very representative of what we are trying to achieve on the gender equality concern. Here, this is a very interesting case because this is how we act, and not on the numbers. I don't want to focus so much here on the numbers, but I want to focus on how these experiences change some of the people's lives. So here first I have the case of family agriculture contracts, this 157 contracts. We are financing this day oil extraction to these families. What we perceive is a change on the experience, on life of these people, because before how they were acting was economically saying they had like as activity low quality extensive livestock farming, which we know is not social environmentally is very poor and very degrading, and how we are financing this extraction and this situation. We change the lives of these families by increasing the wage they receive, because then there is a much more interesting and much more environmentally concerned industry. So we change the lives of these people with this kind of financing. Also here in the family agriculture and on the indigenous people, we also have a lot of action on partnering with social organizations that we find that we can help a lot of families on financing them, giving them access to the agriculture they do on very many ways, so they can have a better productivity. And so they are the kind of people that we understand that will take natural care of the biome they are, the Amazon biome and so on. So we think this is an important focus that we need to have here in the Amazon to give care to make them this kind of people take care of the Amazon where they live.
Thank you so much, Fabio. And my last question is to Fabiana. Fabiana, which are the lessons learned and recommendations to improve the access of women into climate finance?
Well, in our experience in this project that you have mentioned before, Nanun Women Connected, we facilitate the access to connectivity for isolated communities, and particularly for women organizations, by installing internet companies led by women themselves. And at the same time, it's not only about to connect women, to connect isolated communities, but also to incorporate disruptive technologies for access climate information and financing at the same time. We need data, no? We need access to that data, but also we need to support different kind of initiative to, well, to bring solution, no? To not only about adaptation initiative, but also mitigation is a lot the contribution that we can receive, that we can impulse from local communities to mitigation challenges. In this sense, we, for example, no, we have facilitated access to their first bank account for more than 2,000 women and trained 5,000 families in the strategic appropriation of ICT, of different kind of tools. But we also are developing new application, the digital system for the management of early warning system, managed from the territory and managing local production and their access to market. So this experience of Nanum Women Connected is an example, no, on how we can create and generate and design public policies, climate policies with the gender lenses, and at the same time reinforcing grassroots organization and integrating all the time, no? Because it's developing and we are innovating all the time new kind of different stakeholders. One example in this sense is the initiative of gender bonds that the National Value Commission in Argentina has launched in this last year. It was the first one, and now we are in the third round of gender bonds with climate impact. We call that sustainable bonds. Latin America in general is a pioneer in gender bonds, not only Argentina or the Gran Chaco region. We have a lot of experience in Colombia, Mexico, and so on. But in the Gran Chaco region, it is a new initiative that are showing us that we have different solutions, different opportunities that we can develop and scale up, incorporating new and different stakeholders that we are not considering until now, as the National Value Commission and the other organizations that are working and are integrating the platform and working with the social enterprises and the National Commission to launch these gender bonds, and allows, in this sense, grassroots organization, women organization to access to this kind of support. And we are supporting through these gender bonds different kind of solution, mostly natural-based solution, reinforcing, for example, the production of natural dyes, of medicine plants, or adding value, in short, different kind of projects that are adding value to biodiversity, showing and contributing to solution based on nature, and at the same time reinforcing and make visible the power and the potential of grassroots women organization as a key actors to build innovative and most efficient, more efficient climate policy. So in our opinion, we think that the most important lesson learned is that we should build more public policy and climate policy from the territory, so bottom-up policies, reinforcing local actors and connecting at the same time, because it's not only looking or reinforcing the territory, but but from the territory, connecting local communities and rural communities with the world. In Danube, Women Connected, for example, we designed an innovation platform called Chapinova, in which we launched challenges for digital innovation from organizations around the world to co-design solutions to local problems together with community. So finally, the most important lesson that we have learned is that it's connecting the local communities, the local level, with an international and worldwide stakeholders platform, contributing with the most open diversity contribution knowledge to bring solutions to the climate challenges that we have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. In this moment,
Sorry,
I would like to. Oh, sorry.
I have sent a small, very short video. I don't know if you have it, if we have time to share. It can be an example.
Well, actually, we don't have much time, but before that, I would like to ask the audience if you have any questions to the panelists. And I think no, but I would like to ask the organizer if we have a couple of minutes for the video show. Unfortunately, Fabiana, but if you can send us via email your video, we would be very happy to watch that and share with our colleagues.
Don't worry. Yes, I have sent you already, but
Oh, thank you.
1 minute video is just to show the territory and the experience, but it's okay, don't worry.
Okay, thank you so much. I would like to conclude this panel with my appreciation to all the panelists for their experience sharing. And also, I would like to thank the organizer of COP27 and IDFC Club for giving us this opportunity to share our experience and lessons learned. Well, we all work for the future of the world, hopefully a gender equal world, and we definitely need a planet that includes all the species, all the living species in a living in a sustainable environment. I think with the collaboration of the parties globally, we will achieve this goal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.